One problem with the struggle with weight that's sometimes ignored or not discussed or avoided is how it affects our marriage. And there are various realities to the struggle that, if we're real and honest, if that obsession with the scale went away, marriages would improve. Now, we're not expecting bikini model wives here, people, okay? But there's a mindset that comes with confidence in the freedom of just living. So let's talk about it today. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast, where we believe that you can go on a journey to lose weight for the last time. I know you've tried all the things and you may not believe me yet, but when you do weight loss the Kingdom Fit Moms way, everything changes. You're in the right place if weight is constantly on your mind, you're confused about food, you're missing out on memories, and maybe even putting your dreams off for another day because this weight struggle is no joke. We're a community and we're on a mission to invite God into this weight loss journey so you can shed the burden and shine your light. I want you to start living and believing in the version of yourself that heaven sees. Let's get started. Well, I thought it'd be appropriate to share some Fit Mom wins that have to do with marriages. And if you go back to Vicky's testimony, I will link it in the show notes. Vicky shared how she is getting in shape in her 60s and how her husband is amazed. And I love this so much because she's changing the legacy in her home with her spouse, which is so cool. And she's proving to her spouse that she can show up for herself and just be such an example of resilience and getting well at any phase of life. So I love her story. I will link it below so you can hear more. And then if you listen to Joy's recent interview, she shared a testimony about how her husband is now wanting to get on board with her health journey and just being so pleasantly surprised that she's doing something that she'll stick with. And he wanted to reap the same benefits of eating real food and getting healthy. So I will link both of those in the show notes so that you can be extra inspired to transform your health journey, but also your marriage. So you want to lose weight, feel sexy again, regain confidence, and have energy all afternoon, but the thought of doing all that work to get there feels daunting. And what sounds even worse is putting in all this effort and then failing and wasting your precious time and energy only to end up exactly where you started. All right, Fit Mom, no more wasting time, energy, and money. My program, Fit Moms Academy, it's going to teach you how to lose weight with simple bite-sized steps that are sustainable and to get the scale moving in the right direction quickly. I've had multiple students comment after dropping 5, 10, 20 pounds or more that they never knew it could be this simple. You log into your learning portal and literally every week I give you 1 or 2 bite-sized steps to implement so that by the time you're done, inside of the academy you have an entire new foundation for health and you didn't even have to step foot in a gym or solely munch on a bunch of carrots. I'm going to show you how hundreds of women have become set free from diet culture through our simple and streamlined process that allows you to not only see the scale drop, but to learn how to let God heal you from why the struggle exists in the first place. So come inside Fit Moms Academy so I can show you how to get to your goal weight faster than you thought possible so you can stop hiding and start living out the amazing, unique, God-given call on your life in freedom. Hop down to the show notes or go to kelseywickenhauser.com/join to join our community, our tribe today. All right, today's episode, we're kind of just getting real with some things about marriage. And this is such a great opportunity for you to hop into our free Facebook group, Kingdom Fit Moms, and just share, if you can relate, how, even how getting in shape or going on this journey inside of Fit Moms has helped transform your marriage. I think it's really encouraging to hear that you don't have to stay stuck in this and that your relationship with your spouse can totally improve by going on this health journey. So I think initially I'd just like to point out some of the problems in marriage that I see that are related to weight and poor health. And so again, I've worked now with hundreds, thousands, maybe in different ways of women who have shared with me their stories. And I've been on the phone with women who have been in tears and crying over these things. And so I think, first of all, it's nice to know you're not alone. And it's good to just point out what's going on and just be really real. So we're going to do that first. So one of the main things I see is that often if somebody is struggling, if a woman is struggling with her weight and it's always on her mind and she's thinking about the scale and the next diet, then there becomes a misguided anger toward her spouse when it's actually at herself. So oftentimes this can manifest after a binge or, eating, what's the word? Conspicuously in the pantry, or just being frustrated at how she looks in clothes or whatever. Husband says something, hey, you look nice, and it becomes anger, like, no, I don't, things like that. How many of us have been in those situations? But it's actually just shame that leads to lashing out, and it becomes unwarranted anger towards a spouse, which obviously can lead to some discontentment or some struggle with emotional intimacy there. I think sometimes even within that misguided anger, women can feel like, why am I not like this person, fill in the blank, or why am I not fit, or whatever the comparison is. And then it leads to this less than mentality and insecurity and blaming. And it goes down this unhealthy pattern of making the spouse a problem when it's actually our own health journey that we're not taking care of. And sometimes it can also show up as anger. Let's say you really wanted to invest in this thing. I've had women who have wanted to join Infant Moms Academy and their husband said no for whatever reason, but maybe it was financial. And then he's spending money on a fishing boat or I don't know what else. You get the idea, like something else. And meanwhile, the woman is there like struggling internally with all of this battle with the scale and weight. So it just becomes this sometimes stuffed anger, sometimes anger that comes out sideways. So that's one thing that I see. Another thing that I see is that there's a lack of physical intimacy due to insecurity. Often women will tell me that they have a sense of wanting to hide. So that can, again, come out in different ways, but especially with the spouse, it can be an avoiding of sexual intimacy or even just physical touch in a non-sexual way, which obviously can hurt a marriage. And unfortunately, this can sometimes, I have seen this, where it's led to spousal betrayal, whether this is through lustful thoughts or porn or infidelity, which is often, it's rooting in this lack of intimacy in the marriage. And so I know that's hard, and I know that it's hard to talk about, and also it's very common. So we're just breaking the ice today. Okay, so another thing that I see, when women are struggling with weight and, considering how it affects their marriage is that there is a legacy of poor health that's passed down. Instead of working together with your spouse to encourage your kids and your grandkids to be healthy for God's glory. So it's just a continuing of this pattern. There is a sense of not wanting to step up your game. What's the word I'm looking for? A sense of just being compliant, I guess, or just going with the flow instead of being like, no, we're going to fight for this. And then I also often hear women tell me that they feel like they're missing out on memories because they're not healthy. So this could be vacations or fun activities together that aren't done with your spouse because a woman feels out of shape. Sometimes it's like, I can't do the thing I want to do. I can't go on this hike, or I can't walk with you. Some of my husband and I, our like best times together are just going on walks, So it's kind of, we're getting exercise and we're able to go out in nature and explore together. I've talked about this in the podcast before, but if you're a new listener, a couple summers ago now, gosh, I can't believe it's been that long, but my husband and I, we did an adventure up in Banff, Canada, and oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I have never seen such beauty in my life, and I'm just so grateful that we were able to do that together. But one of the stories in our journey through Banff and Jasper, we showed up at Lake Louise, and you had to make a reservation. So you could look up Lake Louise. It's beautiful. It's like this bright blue water. And we wanted to go there, but the parking there is very, very limited, and you had to reserve that ahead of time, and we didn't realize that. So we got off at the exit, we stopped for some food, and the road somehow took us to the parking lot to go up to Lake Louise. And we were like, okay, like there wasn't another option except to go through this parking lot. And I don't know, there was probably less than 100 spots. It was not very big for the amount of people that wanted to go there. And they just happened to open up the sign for us. We were able to go park. It was such a cool, just little kiss from God. And so we're like, okay, I guess we're going to Lake Louise. And when we got there, there was a few different hikes, but one of them was a hike that you could take up to this mountain where there was a tea room in the mountain, and they had workers that would come. A lot of them were college kids or, young adults, and they would hike up to their job and stay there a few days and then hike back down. And then I think they said every 2 weeks a helicopter would come in and drop off supplies, tea, all their little snacks and sandwich supplies, etc. But they didn't have electricity. Well, I think they had to keep stuff cool. Anyway, but inside they would like just boil the water. It was very, very simple, but such a neat experience. And I'm so glad that we were able to use our bodies to make it up the mountain, right? And then hike around this beautiful lake. It's just it was an experience and a memory for us that I will never forget. And it provides a sense of intimacy when we get to look back at pictures and be like, oh man, that was such a cool experience. So, for you and your spouse, it's worth considering. And we'll talk about some different ways you can talk through this, but what are we missing out on if we're just sitting around in our living room instead of exploring the world that God created us to live in? So anyway, I think it's good to call a spade, as my husband always says, so that we can be real and vulnerable and move past it. So this podcast is, how do we get to the point where we feel sexy again around our spouse and stop obsessing over the scale? So we've kind of talked about what the problems are. So I'm going to just give you 5 steps that you can think about when you want to change this part of your health and your relationship. So number 1, this is so important. I want you to start speaking life. I want you to speak life over your spouse every single day. One of the mentors in my church, she just sent me this really cool, it was a piece of writing, and this lady was just talking about turning any curse into a blessing and speaking a blessing over it to renounce that curse. And so I want you to do that over your spouse. I don't know what your relationship is like with your spouse, but I want you to focus on how God sees your spouse and ask God to reveal that to you if there's a struggle there. Maybe there's some contention. I want you to say it to him, and so that he starts believing it too. And maybe this feels a little foreign in your marriage, and he's going to give you a side eye like, what are you saying? And that's okay. Just get excited about how God can transform that. And I also want you to start speaking life over your marriage. I want you to speak about the destiny of you two coming together, and speak into the calling that you have together, and speak into the lives that will be changed as you partner with the Lord for his kingdom purposes together. Now, I know some of us have complicated relationships, and I could be oversimplifying your situation, but I think that no matter what, like speaking life in a way that fits your relationship and the person that your spouse is, because God created your spouse no matter his flaws or his strengths, whatever they are, he is a child of God. Okay. The next thing that I think is really fun to do is to craft a vision with your husband. So this requires a date night. Go set up a date. And then I want you to start dreaming about what things could look like in 5 years and 10 years. Maybe your kids will be grown. It's like so sad for me to say because my oldest is 8, almost 9, and in 10 years he'll be, working his way out of the house probably. And I think it's good to think about, what do I really want? What do we want together? What kind of legacy do we want to leave in 5 or 10 years with our home, our finances, our dreams for the future? And how does our health play into that? Maybe your husband is already on board, or maybe he's not. So it's important to meet him where he's at and also share your own heart too. Because the reality is, if you're already going down this track where your health is not great and you continue to eat processed junk and you're not moving your body and you're not sleeping well and you're having too much caffeine and sugar, things are just going to get worse, probably, unless you have amazing genetics and I don't know, but that's rare. And so it's worth considering, like, what if in 10 years I have health problems and can't do what I want to do? Like, what if I take control of this now? It's not just for the purpose of being healthy, it's for all of these dreams that we have together. So it's important to be real and take some time to have that long-term thinking, because as humans, we often ignore that. We want what's comfortable now, but I'm here to encourage you to look forward into the future and what does God have for me in this time? And what kind of dreams do we have together, Lord willing? Okay, the next piece of this, as you're having this conversation with your spouse, is to ask for support rather than permission. Maybe you know that you know. Like maybe you've been listening to Kingdom Fit Moms and you're finally convinced that I need to invite the Lord into this journey. I'm tired of diet culture. I know there's a better way. I want to start doing this differently. I want you to ask your husband for support in this rather than just permission, okay? It's important to share why the weight is bothering you at a heart level. Some of the things I've already talked about today in this podcast might be some of the things that you share, but truly vulnerability is the key to healing. It's absolutely vital to be honest with all the ways and ask how he can be a support in this. And so it's being kind and asking questions and not blaming, but also being really real. Okay, the next thing that I want you to really consider, because if you want to feel sexy around your spouse, then I want you to stop owning the frumpy look. I get this as a homeschool mom who often can go throughout my day and the only people that see me are my kids and my husband, right? And it can be tempting to just wear really old, grungy shorts and a t-shirt and not do my hair. And again, I'm not saying you gotta, be like a 1920s housewife and have a dress and look beautiful every day. But consider how these small choices could be just affecting your marriage. And if you want to feel good, then do things to make you feel good a little bit, right? So maybe you need to go buy yourself some new underwear. Can I get an amen to that? Like go to Target or go to, I don't even know where people buy underwear now, but go somewhere and buy some underwear that is attractive. And maybe you need to get a new outfit that you actually feel good in. You don't have to wait for the right size clothes or some ideal that you may not meet. It doesn't have to be expensive, okay? It doesn't have to be, something fancy, but just go get something that you feel good in. And so you start, there's just a confidence shift that happens when you have clothes that actually fit you, okay? And then I think, again, I don't know what your situation is. Maybe you are really trendy and that's awesome. I'm going to come have you help me. But maybe for a season, you should consider something like Stitch Fix, or I know there's other clothing services where you can even rent clothes and then send them back. But maybe you have like a best friend or somebody who's super trendy. Like invite them out for a little mini shopping spree and have them help you if you have no clue what's in style. I often have no clue what's in style, okay? Just being honest. But find your trendy friend or go look up Stitch Fix and order a box and get some clothes that maybe you want to pick out for yourself, but you actually feel confident in, because when you're just smiling and walking around just kind of owning like, hey, the Lord made me beautiful and I want to feel confident around my husband, your husband's going to pick up on that. He's going to be like, oh, what's going on over here, right? Okay. And then when you stop owning the frumpy and you start walking in just a little bit more confidence in who God designed you to be and feeling good about yourself and your body where you're at right now. Okay. I want you to also consider scheduling regular dates. Get back to having fun and remember why you got married in the first place. Our marriages are one of our first ministries. So pray for your spouse. Ask God to be part of your marriage and heal the broken parts, and be around people who have gone through the healing process and soak in the fruit of their work. Ask questions, get excited for a healing story of your own. This is one of my favorite parts about our home church is the people. It's a small community, hence home church, and there's just such a culture of healing and sharing our stuff and being like, I'm not perfect, but this is what the Lord has done in my life. You know, my husband, he's my favorite person in the world, and we really honor one another's desires to stay fit for all the reasons I've just listed. And we don't want one another to slide into weight gain and poor energy and disease, because we want our relationship to really thrive for decades so that we can continue to do God's work and to have fun, Lord willing. And so I really pray this for you too. And then, of course, if you're somebody who's like, man, I want all these things, I don't know how to do it, then you got to get into Fit Moms Academy. Just go to kelseywickenhauser.com/join. It is truly a community, a tribe like no other, who is going to support you, pull you out of the muck when you're having a bad day, keep you accountable, and give you that step-by-step process for how to transform the legacy in your home and even in your marriage. So start owning that beautiful, sexy, gorgeous you that God created, and let's have some fun together on this journey. Keep shedding the burden and shining your light, mama. Hey Fit Mom, if this episode blessed you today and you can think of somebody else who's struggling in her weight loss journey, would you consider sharing this week's episode with her to give her a sense of hope? And then while you're at it, hop on over to our free Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, for daily encouragement and support. Let's go shed the weight to shine the light.